Hi there, and welcome back to the Alaska Summer Travel Summit for 2021. If you are still here from the previous session, thanks so much for sticking around. If you are just tuning in for the Fairbanks session, welcome. I'm going to do a little introduction again, just in case you aren't familiar with me. So my name is Valerie Stimmick, and I grew up in Alaska. I am also a travel writer, and I've been writing about Alaska travel for about 8 years. And I run a blog called Valerie and Valise that focuses on bucket list travel in the American West, which of course includes Alaska. I also offer custom Alaska itineraries through my blog. So if you are planning your Alaska trip and you want a little extra help, you can reach out to me. And yeah, I am so excited. So a little bit more housekeeping. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the YouTube chat, which may be on the sidebar, maybe on the bottom, depending on what screen that you are on. We are collecting those questions. We will ask them at the end. We will be doing a door prize giveaway at the end of this session with some Fairbanks goodies. And I think we're just about ready to get started. So I'm going to bring on the slides for our Fairbanks presentation. And then we're going to make sure that our speaker, Amy, is all set up. We did test all the technology, but of course, there are always things we learn. Hi, Amy, are you there?
I can't hear you guys. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
You can hear me. Okay. Yep. So if there's questions or whatever, it could be a problem because I couldn't hear your introduction. So I thank you for it. But I'm not hearing. I can just I'm glad you can hear me talk though. So I'll okay, good. I'll just start the presentation then, and we'll see where it goes. So welcome to Fairbanks, Alaska, land of the midnight sun and the aurora borealis, and winter guaranteed. Life on the 65th parallel is a little different. We are perched so far north that the sun refuses to set for 70 straight days. And our forward north position also puts us directly under the aurora oval, where northern lights activity is concentrated. These two cool sky phenomena set Fairbanks apart from other Alaskan destinations. During this presentation, I will focus on the midnight sun season and segue a bit into aurora season, since we're primarily focusing on summer. Can you go ahead and turn the slide, please, Valerie? Fairbanks is within the Fairbanks North Star Borough. Unlike the lower 48 that has counties, we actually call the different sections of Alaska boroughs. The borough, the Fairbanks North Star Borough, where Fairbanks is approximately the size of Massachusetts. There are about 100,000 souls that live here, and you will find a thriving arts community, a vibrant Alaska Native culture, a charming and growing downtown, and outstanding Alaskan activities and attractions. Explore Fairbanks' purview is quite large. It extends actually beyond Denali National Park, all across the vast interior, and all the way up to the Arctic. So there's a lot of different very cool things to see and do, making Fairbanks a perfect base camp for extraordinary adventures. Next slide, please. As you can see in this slide, we are on the Chena River. The Chena River is central to Fairbanks's identity. There's lots of events and activities that take place along the river, both in the summer and during the winter. Right here in this photo, you're looking at the Golden Heart Plaza. In the middle there is the Unknown First Family. These are also very iconic places for Fairbanks. There's a pedestrian bridge here and lots of very cool things to see and do in downtown Fairbanks. Fairbanks is known as the Golden Heart of Alaska, primarily for 3 reasons. Its location is directly in the middle of the state, which is the first reason why we're the Golden Heart. The second reason is that we are renowned for our Golden Heart hospitality. Year-round, Fairbanksans will happily help whoever is in need and are extremely happy and cheerful in general, I suppose. And third was gold was discovered at the turn of the century by E.T. Barnett. As when E.T. Barnett's boat ran aground. It ran aground right downtown Fairbanks. It was called the Lavelle, and now there's actually a restaurant downtown also called the Lavelle after the Lavelle boat. Felix Pedro was on that boat, and he went out into the hills and struck gold. It was actually a very significant gold strike, and the rush was on, and the rest is history. Still today, you will find people mining for gold in Fairbanks. There's the Fort Knox Gold Mine. And we also celebrate lots of activities and attractions that are gold rush related. Go ahead and change the slide, please. Traveling in the time of COVID. COVID-19 has been devastating to the visitor industry, so we're excited that we're having this presentation and encouraging folks to come and visit. Throughout the pandemic, Explore Fairbanks has been marketing for local businesses and encouraging compliance with the CDC regulations. We have continued marketing in thoughtful and COVID-19 respectful ways. We've developed the motto, "Imagine yourself here, explore Fairbanks responsibly," which we interchange with other verbiage such as track the aurora, explore Fairbanks responsibly, experience 24 hours of light, explore Fairbanks responsibly. And we've also developed banners for our website, identifying current people who are open for business, as well as a pledge system, allowing potential visitors to easily determine what safety protocols are being followed where. You can switch slides, please. We've done a series of videos to promote visitation throughout the COVID crisis. And one of the videos that we did was a shout out to our safety protocols. And this video is an overview of the guidelines being employed in Fairbanks in the past and now. So without further ado, let's play the video.
We encourage you to explore Fairbanks responsibly. As guests prepare to travel to Fairbanks, please familiarize yourself with local guidelines so that we can all stay safe together. If you are exhibiting symptoms of COVID-19, please postpone your visit until you are feeling better. Fairbanks businesses are doing their part to try to keep travelers, staff, and the local community safe. Here at the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center, all visitors and staff must wear a face covering while in the building. Explore Fairbanks Visitor Information Specialists are available to connect you with tourism activities, attractions, tours, accommodations, and eating and drinking establishments that are open for business. And Alaska Public Lands Information Center park rangers are on hand to advise visitors about outdoor activities and adventures. At local lodging facilities, safety equipment has been installed and sanitation protocols are aligned with all state and national health guidelines. Contactless check-ins, mask wearing, and social distancing are well established. Rest assured, your health and comfort are top priority. There are many indoor and outdoor venues, activities, attractions, tours, and eating and drinking establishments that have thoughtfully reopened. Visit Explore Fairbanks' website for a current open for business list, including their steps taken to help visitors have a safe experience. Keep track of the state of Alaska's travel requirements on the government site. Wear a mask, wash your hands, and social distance. Keep your bubble small. Stay home if you feel sick and get tested if you have any symptoms. When you're outdoors, explore our wild open spaces and the natural beauty of Alaska while maintaining safe distances from others you pass by. It's reasonably easy to social distance while chasing the northern lights, dog mushing, viewing ice sculptures, gold panning, and hiking under the midnight sun, just to name a few. With careful planning and testing, travelers can embark on an extraordinary journey while they explore Fairbanks responsibly.
Okay, great. So that's our video. Now we're going to discuss the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center. We really recommend making the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center your first stop in Fairbanks for multiple reasons. One thing is that it is a very interesting cultural and visitor center insofar as it is a hybrid of 3 different entities. It is the Tanana Chiefs Council, which is one of the local Athabascan Native organizations, and it is the Federal Park Service, where you can find information out from the Park Service as well as access their maps and get different types of information. And lastly, it is also home to Explore Fairbanks, which is, of course, the local Convention and Visitors Bureau, which I am representing today. This free attraction has multiple wonderful features that familiarize you with the area. There's a 9,000-foot exhibition hall with video, Alaska Native art and exhibits, info on the pipeline and natural history. There is the outdoor trip planning area, which is what I was discussing. That's run by park rangers. There is the Alaska Geographic Store, and there's loads of brochures, maps, and visitors guides, all free, as well as visitor specialists with answers to all your questions. Another very cool thing about the Morris Thompson Center are the grounds. There are really awesome, attractive activities. Things in and around the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center. There's the Antler Arch, which is the farthest north antler arch in America, with over 100 antlers that have been collected from Alaska Native villages throughout the state. It has a webcam on it, so you can stand there and wave to your family back home and say hi, or you can take your picture in front of the Antler Arch. It is a very Instagrammable photo and something to add to your collection. And there's also an old-timer cabin restored by a local historic society that was on the grounds prior to the building being built. And so we felt it was our duty to restore it and make it a visitor attraction as well. And you can peek in through the windows to look and see what life was like in yesteryear. And lastly, but not least, is that we have a traditional Fairbanks garden. And it is a very robust garden, and we grow not only flowers, but lots of different vegetables. And we donate them to the local food bank, which is also a nice thing to do. Next slide, please. So Alaska Native peoples have lived in Alaska for over 14,000 years. And it's very complicated for folks from the lower 48 because we have so many different indigenous peoples and groups here. In Southeast Alaska, you'll see Tlingit, Haida, Bella Coola, Tsimshian people. They're folks that make gorgeous totem poles and house fronts and have a very specific type of art and live in a very specific type of climate. If you were to go straight up the coast of Alaska, you would end up at the end of the Aleutian chain. And on the Aleutian chain, you will find people that were once called Aleuts, and they're now known as Anungan. And they are also have their own very different culture. It's a sea-bound culture, and they have very specific material things that they make and things that they do. Where we're located in Alaska's interior is home to Athabascan Indians. If you've noticed, they're the only folks that are called Indians out of all the Alaska Native peoples. Athabascan Indians actually share roots with Navajo people in the lower 48. They have linguistic ties and do some similar types of things. Also, within our purview here in Explore Fairbanks is the far north. The far north is home to Inupiaq and Yupik people. Inupiaq and Yupik people used to go by Eskimo, and are now transitioning into Inuit, like their Canadian relatives. You'll still see Eskimo, and it is often not considered a bad thing yet in this area, but it is quickly transitioning into Inuit. So we have both Yupik and Inupiaq Inuit people that live in the far north. The material culture of Athabascan people is very different than the material culture of Inupiaq and Yupik people. Athabascan people primarily make things out of birch bark, and they utilize moose hide to make exquisite beadwork. And those are the two main things that you'll see made by Athabascan peoples. And Inupiaq and Yupik people, on the other hand, make grass baskets, and they make baleen baskets, and they carve ivory. And they actually make masks out of driftwood. Since there's no wood since there's no trees on the northern Arctic coast, they fish for trees. And when they get pieces of driftwood, they carve them into masks and other types of things. It's pretty cool. So at the University of Alaska Museum of North, Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center, and multiple galleries and stores sell authentic Alaska Native arts and crafts. And Fairbanks is home to multiple fantastic Alaska Native events, including the World Eskimo Indian Olympics, the Festival of Native Arts, and Powwow, where you can find Indigenous people performing different types of things like drumming, dancing, and much more. The World Eskimo Indian Olympics is going to happen this summer. It is the third week in July, and it is amazing. They have fantastic athletic events that you've never seen before, kicking sealskin balls 7 feet in the air, hopping on their knuckles, they have a baby contest as well as skin sewing and skinning contests. It's a very authentic and very real way to experience Alaska Native culture. So if you're planning a trip in July, that would be a great opportunity for you. Next slide, please. So the midnight sun season. Because we are on the 65th parallel, we really do have a very significant midnight sun season. From April 22nd to August 20th, the sun shines for up to 24 hours a day. And this allows for plenty of middle of the night activities. People bike, garden, walk their dog, float the Chena, go on hikes. You can even play golf at midnight. On solstice, June 21st, that's the longest day of the year, Fairbanks has a week-long celebration, including one of the star attractions, the Midnight Sun baseball game, which has been played without artificial light for over 100 years. It starts at 10 p.m. and usually goes until 1 a.m. And yeah, and it's a standard for our solstice celebrations. From May 17th through July 27th, for 70 straight days, the sky actually never gets dark. And the way that we explain this is that there's actually 3 twilights. There's civil twilight, nautical twilight, and astronomical twilight. And the civil twilight's definition is that if you are a pilot, it's an aeronautical definition. If you are a pilot, you can identify objects on the ground. So that's how bright civil twilight is. And so technically from May 17th through July 27th, we never go beyond civil twilight, which makes it very, very easy to see. And it's really fascinating because if you go out in the middle of the night, any day during the midnight sun season, you can actually witness the sun setting and then briefly the sun rises. It's a very interesting and cool phenomenon. You can go to the next slide, please, Valerie. Here's a video we created showcasing some fun midnight sun activities. This phenomenon is so impactful that we've created a midnight sun tracker on our website that calculates daylight hours for Fairbanks, Coldfoot, and Utqiagvik 365 days per year. Utqiagvik was formerly known as Barrow. So you can calculate that on our website any day, put in a date, and it'll tell you how many hours of daylight there are. Okay, so without further ado, let's play the Midnight Sun video. Enjoy.
Soft as gold, she tells me, shimmering on the moon. At the break of dawn, kisses bloomed easily to song. And I've loved the earth for the whisper of these words. To have it too old, to need it to grow. Easy love, let it go. To have it too old.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we're here at Denali National Park. I did see in the chat there, somebody asked how far Denali is from Fairbanks, and it is an easy 2-hour drive, 120 miles. So Alaska is home to 3 massive mountain ranges: the Brooks Range, the Wrangell-St. Elias Range, and the most famous Alaska Range, home to Denali, the Great One. At 20,310 feet or 6,190 meters, Denali is North America's highest peak. Denali National Park and Preserve covers 6 million acres of pure wilderness. and it is an easy 2-hour drive or 4-hour train trip from Fairbanks. This summer, due to COVID-19, the park is allowing people to buy a pass farther and drive farther into the park. This is very unusual. You usually cannot do this. So now you can get as far as Tetlanika. The pass costs $25. And if you have a vehicle, you can drive as far as Tetlanika this summer. In addition, though, the regular shuttles will be running, and they go very, very deep into the park and also are very awesome. So it's not just the mountains that will leave you in awe in Denali National Park. It's the wildlife. You will see bears, caribou, wolves, Dall sheep, moose, fox, and much more. Well, we can't guarantee all of those things, but really and truly, you do see the vast majority. It is an excellent, excellent place to see wildlife. I've lived in Alaska for well over 30 years and seen lots of wildlife all over the place. But if you want to guarantee seeing a lot of wildlife, you got to go to Denali National Park. The next slide, please. So Fairbanks is the perfect base camp to explore the vast interior and the Arctic. It's centrally located, it has an excellent infrastructure, and Fairbanks is not only a worthy destination in its own right, but it does have a great vantage point for extraordinary adventures. In addition to the close by Denali National Park, we are just 140 air miles or 194 driving miles from the Arctic Circle. In the summer, you can rent specialized vehicles to drive the Dalton to the Arctic Circle or beyond, or with a professional tour, you can leave the driving to someone else. The Dalton is primarily dirt still, although it is a very well-maintained road. It is actually the least driven road in the United States, and it is truly, truly a wilderness experience. And all of Alaska's got a lot of wilderness, but the Dalton probably got dibs on the most wilderness. Another option to get up the Dalton or through to the Arctic is a fly-drive combination, which gives you the best of both worlds, as it is mesmerizing to see the Arctic wilderness from both the sky as well as the road. Other amazing adventures nearby include the Chena Hot Springs Resort, which has an amazing outdoor rock lake, as well as lots of other activities and amenities. And also very close to Fairbanks are colorful towns and areas in the interior where you can hike, fish, and glacier view. These are all within reach in Fairbanks. It's vast and in Alaska's vast interior. Next slide, please. Okay, here is a recent video we produced highlighting a trip to the Arctic, one that will never be forgotten. Going up past the Arctic to all the way to the ocean, you end up crossing the Yukon River, traversing along the pipeline. You get to go to Coldfoot, then you pass the last tree, you get to the Arctic plains, and then eventually the Arctic Ocean. I did see another quote, here, to see the Arctic Ocean, is it better to go to Barrow or Prudhoe Bay? You can go either way. Barrow you have to fly to. There's no roads to Barrow, but you can drive all the way to Prudhoe Bay or take a tour all the way to Prudhoe Bay. They're very different experiences. And you don't, and you actually then, once you get to Dead Horse, which is the small town outside of Prudhoe Bay, you will take a small tour to the Arctic Ocean. I did this trip maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and it was incredibly beautiful. It was such a gorgeous trip, driving the Dalton all the way to Dead Horse and seeing the Arctic Ocean at Prudhoe Bay. Okay, without further ado, let's play the video.
You may never have crossed the Arctic Circle, but Alaska's Arctic is a great place to get out and explore. Take a tour, take a flight, take a drive. Head north to the Dalton Highway where you can walk along the Yukon River, cross the Arctic Circle, explore the Brooks Mountain Range, and get out onto the Arctic Coastal Plain. So, get out and explore local.
Okay, now we're on arts, entertainment, and events. The arts and entertainment and events scene in Fairbanks is fabulous. Home to 2 of the best museums anywhere, one, the University of Alaska Museum of the North, which offers 2,000 years of Alaska art and culture, as well as a wide variety of natural history. This museum is housed in a must-see building, which is reminiscent of whales breaching or icebergs colliding. And the Fountainhead Antique Auto Museum, which pairs vintage cars with vintage clothing and has one of the best collections of early 20th century cars anywhere. Even if you're not a car buff, it is definitely a cool place to go to. There's an amazing, the cars are gorgeous, and it's just a very well done museum. In addition, in our beloved family-friendly Pioneer Park, you will also find more fascinating museums, including an air museum, an Alaska Native Museum, a Pioneer and a Pioneer Museum. You will also find a turn-of-the-century riverboat, the Bear Art Gallery, and a single-gauge railroad which runs around the perimeter of the park and is still operational. If you're a railroad buff, this is a very specific and cool railroad. There are an enormous amount of artists of all kinds in Fairbanks. There are painters, potters, mask makers, photographers, videographers, and more. There are always musicians, dancers, and dancers, and theater people. There are many venues where art can be accessed, including museums and gallery exhibitions, First Friday events, open air and farmers markets, as well as specialty shops. Fairbanks is an outstanding place to get authentic arts and crafts to remember your trip to the far north. Performance art is also ubiquitous in Fairbanks, with multiple drama and musical associations offering concerts and operas and plays throughout the year. In the summertime, there's 2 different venues, one in the Botanical Garden and one at Pioneer Park, that offer different concerts in the afternoons. It's a very lovely thing to do. Can you go ahead and change the slide here, please, Valerie? Culinary arts and gardening buffs are also plentiful, as one can easily see if you go to one of our robust farmers markets. The Tanana Valley Farmers Market is the biggest and longest running and never disappoints. Because of our 24 hours of light, we grow fruits. We grow vegetables and flowers like nobody's business, and they get to be incredibly large. And we love to showcase our plate-sized dahlias and peonies, and it's just a fun thing for people to see when they get here, that we have so many flowers. We have flowers everywhere. So flowers are a big deal. So also in the farmers market, you will find Fairbanks artisans making all kinds of things like birch syrups, jams, teas, mustards, goat soap, wool, spinning wool, and so much more. And you don't have to ever leave hungry, as there are always multiple food stalls and food trucks to satisfy your appetite. The local food scene has grown dramatically over the past decade or two in Fairbanks, and is now delightfully delicious. The Fairbanks restaurant scene is cosmopolitan and offers Vietnamese, Indian, Greek, Japanese, barbecue, and of course, the ubiquitous Thai food, of which we have over 20 restaurants. There are also an amazing amount of breweries and distilleries now in Fairbanks, often using local produce. There are now 5 breweries and 4 distilleries, and they are all very different, outstanding, and festive. Next slide, please. Outdoor hotspots and activities. Public lands near Fairbanks offer unlimited opportunities from mild to wild. If accessible outdoor adventures are what you are after, they are plentiful in Fairbanks. You can float the Chena River by riverboat, paddleboard, canoe, or kayak. You can pan for gold in multiple outdoor locations and strike it rich. You can embark on a fishing excursion or hiking, birding, or camping expedition. Some of the local hotspots include Chena Lakes out near North Pole, Tanana Lakes right here in town, White Mountains, which offers a great trail system just north of town. And of course, you can do most of these activities right on the Chena River. Next slide, please. So Fairbanks is a world-famous aurora destination. Spanning all 4 seasons during 9 months of the year, aurora season runs from August 21 through April 21. Fairbanks' location directly under the aurora oval, a ring-shaped region hovering over the far north, offers excellent aurora viewing opportunities. Just so everybody understands, the aurora is happening 365 days a year, 24/7. The sky just needs to be dark enough so that you can actually see the aurora. That's the reason why we've defined aurora season with darkness and conversely and midnight sun season with light. So the things to remember about the aurora and the reason why we're such a good place to see the aurora is that we're not coastal. So we have good weather. We have continental climate, relatively clear skies. We do have a significant amount of snow in the winter, but the reason why we have that snow is because it never melts. So once the snow flies and hits the ground and starts to accumulate by the middle of October, it never melts. Until right around now, which it is doing currently, starting to melt. And so that's one of the reasons too. And then also, we don't have a lot of light pollution, and any direction outside of Fairbanks you go, you have a great chance of seeing the aurora. If you were to go all the way north, for whatever reason, the way that the science works, you would be less likely to see the aurora. So we are actually in an auroral band around the top of the northern part of the world where you can see the aurora. The southern area of the world, you can actually see the aurora australis, which is the mirror image of the aurora borealis. So that's a very cool fact that not a lot of people understand. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of land mass under aurora australis, so you don't see it very often. And the land mass that is under aurora australis is really not particularly inhabited. So people come here from all over the world to see the aurora, and so that is one of the reasons why we created an aurora tracker, which takes 3 different data feeds from the Geophysical Institute, from weather stations, and from the amount of daylight hours, and combines that information and predicts a 3-day forecast for seeing the aurora. And there's multiple different ways you can see the aurora. You can dog mush to see the aurora. You can take a flight seeing trip to see the aurora. There's just really a tremendous amount of aurora tourism and activities and attractions that have developed alongside the aurora viewing activities. Another thing I'd like to mention is that we are just coming off one of the most fantastic, I think the most fantastic aurora season I have ever seen. And January, February, March have been absolutely fantastic. We have seen so many auroras. They have been ubiquitous and big shows one after another. And this is interesting, particularly because we are supposed to be in the nadir, or the lowest part of the 12-year cycle. So the 12-year cycle is, in theory, a cycle that the sun sheds energy that produces the aurora on a 12-year cycle, and we're supposed to be at the low point of the cycle. This science has been in question, and this year would definitely prove this out, simply because there's been just an astounding amount of auroras. I would really encourage you, if you're interested in the aurora in particular or anything, is to follow us on Instagram. I try to post continuous photos of local photographers capturing aurora images and visitors that are here taking fantastic images as well. So visit Fairbanks and knock aurora viewing off your bucket list. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and go to our website for loads more information on current events and more. Please keep in mind COVID-19 is still impacting the area. Most things are open, and there's still plenty to do, but things may be a little different than regular, and the events are definitely a little different than normal. So just check the calendar, check the website before you embark on your trip to Fairbanks. And thank you so much for allowing me this time, and I'm happy to answer these questions on the side chat. Valerie, I'm still not sure if I'm going to be able to hear you. If you have a suggestion on how I might be able to turn on the volume, I would be happy to entertain that.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me at all, Amy? Are you there?
Yeah, let's see.
Let's see.
So it says my microphone is on.
Can you hear me? I'm here.
Hey, Bill? Can you see why I can't
Tech support.
access this maybe? Sorry about that, Valerie.
Okay, what we're going to do right now for the audience.
I'm trying to talk now.
I am going to mute Amy really quick because I'm
thinking maybe I can turn it on here, but if I turn it on.
She's talking at the same time. What I'm going to do while she's figuring that out is I'm going to read off the winners. I've drawn 2 winners because there are 2 Fairbanks prize packs. If you hear your name, please come into the chat and let us know you're here. Okay? So while we figure out the tech stuff, I'm going to say the 2 winners of the Fairbanks prize pack. Patricia Lloyd, if you're here, please jump into the chat and let us know. And the other winner is Karen Burke. So if you just heard your name, please jump into the chat. You have about a minute or so, and we will make sure we log that you're here, and we will get you a prize pack. Okay, I'm going to turn Amy back on because I think they're working on getting some audio. Let's see what we can do.
The
microphone? Just sound? Yeah, so go over here to sound. Were you getting feedback?
Oh, there's the feedback.
Yeah, there's the feedback.
Okay.
So Valerie, I can just answer a couple of these.
Well, we're actually out of time, but you answered some of them. So for the audience, if you asked a question about Fairbanks and you didn't hear your answer come through during Amy's presentation, we will follow up after by email with answers to those questions.
I can answer a couple of the questions if you'd like, Valerie.
We're actually out of time, so we're going to have to go to our break, and then we will follow up by email. Have we heard from either of our winners yet, Jacob? Not yet? Okay, so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to draw 2 more winners. Give me 1 second to do that. So the first new winner for a Fairbanks prize pack is Bethany Matula. Bethany, if you are here, jump into the chat on YouTube and let us know. And there's Amy. She's showing us the prize pack. It's a big Fairbanks bag full of goodies. I got one like this when I visited Fairbanks last year. I believe we have 2 of them. So Bethany, you need to let us know if you're here. And then the second winner will be, give me 1 second. I got to scroll through all of your names. Mary B, M-E-R-I. Mary B, if you are here, let us know in the chat, because we have a prize for you. Oh, I can do a question. While we're waiting, we're going to give it 1 more minute. I got to scroll over to the questions. But I don't know if Amy can hear me if I say a question. I will answer one question from Jerry. Oh, no, sorry, from Annette. We've got a bunch of questions. We'll get these answered for you in email. Annette asks if you'd recommend a trip to the North Pole.
Yes, North Pole is very cool.
Yep. So there's a difference, though, between the North Pole and North Pole, Alaska, right? Can you break that down for us really quickly?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, North Pole is just 10, 15 miles from Fairbanks. Actually, I think closer to 10. And it is actually a town that was created with the theme of Christmas. And that is very different than the North Pole. The North Pole, I'm not even sure where the real magnetic north is right now, but it's not particularly accessible. But North Pole is charming. And there's a really cool big Santa Claus house and the largest Santa statue. And you can see Santa pretty much any day of the year. And then also somebody asked if you can see the aurora from Denali. And yes, you can see the aurora from Denali. It's also in the interior, so there's a good chance to see it there. And you cannot see not see polar bears anywhere except in the very far north. So I saw that one as well. But anyways, yeah, feel free to contact us with any questions. And thank you so much, Valerie, for this opportunity. And I look forward to seeing you all in Fairbanks.
Great. Thanks so much, Amy. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. We're running as expected, just a couple minutes behind on our schedule. So we're going to take a really quick break. I did want to say that I drew several winners for the Fairbanks prize packs. I'm not sure if we've heard from any of them in the chat yet. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to come back and do another Fairbanks drawing toward the end of the day. If we end up having a few minutes somewhere else, we're going to try and get a redraw. So if you are attending live and you hear your name, make sure you find that YouTube chat and let us know you're here, because if I'm saying your name, it's because you won something, which is a good thing. Okay, so before we take our break, I just want to put in our sponsor message again and remind you that we want to especially thank our sponsor, Fly Local. Whether you're visiting the interior, where Fairbanks is located, the Arctic, South Central, Southwest, or the Inside Passage, you want to visit flylocal.io to find a fantastic local air carrier that will take you on your next Alaskan adventure. And we'll be back in just a few minutes.